Many men walk away from powerful moments without ever realizing what was truly happening. They replay the conversation later, wondering if she was just being friendly, if they imagined the tension, or if they missed a signal that was never meant to be spoken out loud. The truth is uncomfortable but simple. Most women do not verbalize desire directly. They are not wired to announce it. Instead, they communicate through behavior, energy, and subtle shifts that speak far louder than words ever could. And this is why so many men miss opportunities that were already opening in front of them. Attraction, especially sexual attraction, rarely begins with explicit language. It begins with a change in presence, a change in how she occupies space around you, a change in how she listens, how she looks, how she slows down or leans in. Long before a woman consciously admits to herself that she wants a man, her body often reveals it first. Her actions start signaling curiosity, safety, and emotional openness. To a man who is not trained to notice these shifts, they feel vague, confusing, or easy to dismiss. To a man who understands them, they are unmistakable. This is why relying on verbal confirmation alone is a losing strategy. Words come last. Behavior comes first. Women test, explore, and feel before they declare. They want to see if a man is aware enough to read what is happening without forcing them to spell it out. When a man needs direct reassurance, he often projects insecurity and breaks the natural flow that was building on its own. Ironically, the moment he asks for clarity is often the moment attraction weakens. In this video, we are breaking down 6 hidden signs that women almost never say out loud, yet their behavior practically shouts when you know what to watch for. These signs are not manipulative tricks or pickup lines. They are natural expressions of desire surfacing through the body and the nervous system. When you learn to recognize them, you begin to feel the shift in energy before anything physical ever happens. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You start responding instead of reacting. And it always begins with the first signal, the one most men underestimate and misunderstand: the change in her body language, especially in her eyes. The eyes are often the first place desire reveals itself, and they do so in ways that are almost impossible to fake. When a woman is not interested, her gaze is casual and functional. She looks when necessary and disengages quickly. But when attraction begins to grow, her eyes change their purpose. She no longer just looks at you. She studies you. She tracks your face as you speak, lingers on your expressions, notices your hands, your shoulders, the way your mouth moves when you form words. This is not conscious analysis. It is instinctive curiosity driven by attraction. At the same time, her entire body begins to soften. Her breathing slows. Her voice drops slightly in volume and becomes smoother, warmer, less guarded. She angles her hips toward you without realizing it. Her feet point in your direction even when her body is partially turned away. These are not random movements. The body always points toward what it wants, even in a crowded room. Her posture subtly reorients itself to keep you in her field. You may also notice small grooming behaviors appearing out of nowhere. She touches her hair, adjusts her clothing, straightens her posture, or lightly brushes her own arm or thigh. This is not nervous discomfort. This is self-awareness. She becomes aware of herself as a woman in your presence and unconsciously draws attention to her femininity. She may lean closer despite having plenty of space. Closing distance that does not need to be closed. Distance is rarely crossed by accident. The deeper message her body is sending is simple but powerful. It says, I feel safe here. I'm curious about you. I'm open. Safety is the foundation of desire, and curiosity is the bridge. Without both, attraction cannot move forward. When these signals appear together, something has already shifted beneath the surface. The most common mistake men make at this stage is waiting for verbal confirmation. They tell themselves they are imagining things. They wait for a clear statement or an obvious invitation. But by the time words arrive, the moment has often passed. Body language always comes first. It is the test. If you cannot read it, she assumes you cannot lead what comes next. Once her body is opened, her words often begin to follow. And that is where the next sign appears, one that reveals desire not through posture, but through the direction of the conversation itself. When a woman begins to feel attracted, the conversation slowly drifts into more intimate territory. Often without either person announcing the shift, she does not suddenly become explicit or crude. Instead, she introduces sexual themes in a soft, indirect way that feels natural rather than forced. This is intentional. She is testing the emotional and psychological safety of the man in front of her, while also gauging his maturity around intimacy. She might mention that a past relationship was complicated, not to complain, but to open the door to deeper connection. She may ask what you think about chemistry between two people, or whether you believe attraction can be instant. Sometimes she speaks about previous experiences with confidence, or subtly criticizes other men for being emotionally clumsy, disconnected, or unaware of how to touch a woman properly. These comments are rarely random. They are invitations disguised as observations. Women do not volunteer sexual or intimate topics with men they feel nothing for. There is too much risk involved. Bringing up these subjects exposes vulnerability, invites judgment, and creates tension. When she chooses to step into that territory, she is signaling interest while watching carefully how you respond. She is not asking for explicit answers. She is reading your tone, your comfort level, your ability to stay grounded without turning desperate or awkward. At a psychological level, this is her way of building comfort before escalation. Emotional intimacy opens the door. Sexual curiosity steps through it. She wants to feel that intimacy with you could flow naturally rather than feel rushed or unsafe. A man who reacts with immaturity, jokes that feel forced, or sudden sexual pressure fails this test immediately. A man who remains calm, present, and emotionally centered passes it without effort. This stage is not about pushing things forward. It is about allowing the current to move on its own while staying steady inside it. If you try to speed it up, you break the spell. If you shy away from it, you signal fear. The balance is awareness without attachment. Women do not isolate themselves with men unless they feel safe or hope for escalation. Isolation is not about physical location alone. It is about removing external eyes, interruptions, and social pressure so the energy between two people can breathe. When she pulls you away from friends, slows her pace so you naturally walk beside her, or lingers behind while others move ahead, she is intentionally narrowing the world down to the two of you. When a woman is no longer just curious but emotionally decided, she begins to create opportunities for privacy. This is a critical shift because it requires intention. She might suggest stepping outside where it is quieter, invite you to walk with her for a moment, ask you to sit in her car, or casually say you should come inside for a bit. On the surface, these suggestions seem innocent. Beneath them, They are anything but random. Once this comfort is established verbally, her behavior often shifts again. Words are no longer enough. She begins creating situations that allow something to happen rather than just be talked about, and that leads directly to the next sign. At this point, she's already made an emotional decision. What she is watching now is not whether she wants you, but whether you can carry the moment as a man. She observes your confidence, your composure, your ability to lead without forcing. She wants to feel that you can guide the situation calmly, not anxiously, and that you understand what the moment requires without being told. This is where many men freeze. They misinterpret privacy as coincidence or assume nothing is expected of them. Others panic and rush forward too aggressively. Both reactions come from the same place, fear of responsibility. Creating privacy is her way of offering space and seeing what you do with it. Leadership does not mean pushing. It means setting a direction with ease and allowing her to follow by choice. When a woman gives you isolation, she is offering trust. How you handle that trust determines whether attraction deepens or dissolves. She is not looking for perfection. She is looking for presence. As the space grows quieter and more focused, another involuntary signal often appears, one that happens even when she tries to hide it, and it is written clearly on her face, specifically in where her eyes keep drifting next. Next, as the moment becomes more intimate, her eyes begin to betray what her words still avoid. You may notice her gaze shifting in a restless pattern, moving from your eyes down to your lips, then away for a second, then back again. This is not distraction. It is imagination. She is no longer just listening to what you say. She is subconsciously picturing what it would feel like to be closer to you, to kiss you, to cross a boundary she has not yet crossed out loud. There is a sentence women use at moments of high desire that is often misunderstood, dismissed, or taken at face value by men who do not understand its deeper meaning. She says it softly, sometimes with a nervous smile or a slight pause. I don't usually do this. On the surface, it sounds like hesitation or uncertainty. In reality, it is one of the strongest indicators that she wants you. And often, right as the tension peaks, she will say something that sounds like hesitation, but is actually one of the strongest green lights a man will ever hear. A sentence meant to protect her image while revealing her desire at the same time. That sentence is the next sign. The key here is not to act impulsively or mechanically. It is to remain calm, aware, and responsive. Desire does not need to be chased. It needs to be allowed. When a man stays centered in this moment, he communicates strength without force and confidence without pressure. She may also speak less, move less, and hold eye contact longer when she looks back up at you. The energy becomes thicker, quieter, more focused. At this stage, she is no longer testing whether she is attracted. She is testing whether you can stay present without collapsing into neediness or fear. Desire requires stillness. If you cannot tolerate it, she will pull back instinctively. Often, this is accompanied by brief silences. The conversation slows or pauses entirely. Many men misinterpret these moments as awkwardness or loss of interest, and they rush to fill the space with nervous talking. This is a mistake. Silence here is not rejection. It is permission without words. It is the space where escalation could happen if the man remains grounded enough to feel it rather than panic. This signal is one of the hardest to consciously control, which is why it is so reliable. When a woman looks at a man's mouth, she's reading more than physical features. She is sensing confidence, softness, restraint, and intent. The mouth represents closeness. It represents vulnerability and power at the same time. Her eyes return there because her body is already ahead of her rational mind. Psychologically, this is a self-protective mechanism. She wants intimacy, but she also wants to preserve dignity. By saying she does not usually act this way, she separates you from every other man. The unspoken message is clear. I am choosing you. Do not treat this casually. Do not make me feel disposable. Do not assume this is something I give to everyone. This is not insecurity. It is discernment mixed with desire. What she is really communicating has very little to do with behavior and everything to do with identity. She wants to protect how she is seen, both by you and by herself. Desire makes people vulnerable, and vulnerability triggers fear of judgment. This sentence is her way of saying, this matters. I need to know this moment is different. She is not pulling away. She is asking for reassurance without directly asking for it. Men often make two mistakes here. Some pull back, thinking she is unsure and needs space. Others push forward aggressively, interpreting the moment as a green light to overpower the situation. Both miss the point. What she is looking for is emotional steadiness. She wants to feel that her desire is met with respect, control, and calm masculine presence. When a man stays grounded here, he communicates safety and strength at the same time. This sentence is permission wrapped in a boundary. It is an invitation that requires emotional intelligence to accept properly, if handled well. It deepens trust instantly. If handled poorly, it triggers regret or withdrawal. The man who understands this does not rush or retreat. He stays present and lets the moment unfold naturally, and when that trust is held correctly. Another behavior often appears soon after, one that reveals she is not ready for the moment to end, that she wants time to stretch longer than it should. That final sign reveals itself not in words, but in how she refuses to leave. When a woman is ready to leave and feels nothing unresolved, she leaves cleanly and without hesitation. There is no lingering, no soft delays, no searching for reasons to stay a little longer. Desire changes that rhythm completely. When attraction is alive, time begins to stretch, movements slow, decisions become less decisive. She says she should go, then stays. She says 5 more minutes, and those minutes quietly turn into 20. This behavior is not confusion. It is internal negotiation. Part of her knows the evening could end now. Another part is not ready to let the connection close. She lingers because she wants something to happen, but she does not want to be the one to force it. So she creates space and watches what you do with it. You may hear her ask questions that sound casual but carry weight. She wonders what you are doing next, where you are headed after this, or what the rest of your night looks like. These are not logistical questions. They are invitations. She is offering you the role of leader without saying it directly. She wants to see if you will step into direction calmly or leave the energy hanging in uncertainty. Her body mirrors this hesitation. She sits closer. She moves less. Her voice becomes softer and slower. The energy remains open rather than closing down. Nothing feels rushed, but nothing feels finished either. This is a woman who feels comfortable, curious, and emotionally present. She is not pulling away. She is waiting. Many men misread this moment. They either rush to escalate out of fear that the window will close, or they do nothing at all, hoping she will make the next move. Both reactions miss the deeper responsibility. This is not about speed. It is about attunement. She is offering time because she trusts you enough to see what you will do with it. All of these signs point to interest. not a contract and not a guarantee. Attraction is fluid, emotional, and sensitive to pressure. A woman can feel strong desire in one moment and pull back the next if fear, doubt, or external circumstances take over. That does not make her deceptive. It makes her human. Understanding this distinction is what separates emotionally intelligent men from men who act out of impatience or entitlement. And this is where everything comes together, because recognizing signs is not the same as knowing what to do with them. The final piece is understanding how a man should carry himself once desire is present, without turning it into pressure, expectation, or entitlement. That final perspective changes everything. At this stage, desire is already there. What matters now is how it is handled. Calmness matters more than intensity. Presence matters more than performance. A man who understands this does not chase the moment or cling to it. He simply guides it forward with intelligence and respect. The role of a man in these moments is not to force outcomes or assume access. It is to remain calm, patient, and self-controlled. Desperation kills attraction faster than rejection ever could. So does overconfidence that turns into assumption. When a man believes desire owes him something, he immediately loses the grounded energy that created attraction in the first place. True masculine presence is quiet. It does not rush. It does not beg. It does not pressure. It leads through clarity and emotional stability. When a man understands how to read these signs, his job is not to take something, but to guide the energy forward naturally while respecting boundaries as they appear. Desire deepens when a woman feels both wanted and safe. Remove either one, and attraction collapses. The paradox is simple. The less you try to extract something from the moment, the more likely the moment evolves on its own. Women respond to men who are present without being attached to outcomes. Men who can hold desire without being consumed by it. Men who understand that leadership is not about control, but about direction. This is why intelligence matters more than hunger. A man who lets lust take over his behavior becomes reactive, sloppy, and predictable. A man who stays centered allows tension to build at its own pace. He listens, he observes, he adjusts. He understands that walking away with dignity is sometimes more powerful than pushing forward with need. When you learn to recognize these signs, you stop guessing and start sensing. You stop chasing clarity and start embodying it. And whether the night ends in intimacy or simply in mutual respect, you leave knowing you handled the moment like a grounded, self-respecting man.